This is episode 20 of The Art of Agency, a launch pad for realtors with my guest, Mark Pattison. Mark is the founder and owner of Porchlight Realty, brokered by EXP. He's closed like 1 billion transactions. The site says 2,000. It's probably way more. This guy never stops. He also has a mentor training company called Riches Through Real Estate. We're going to talk about that. Mark, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you for having me. And yeah, I probably do too much. I don't think my site's updated.
Yeah. I know with you guys are moving so quickly. Whatever numbers are on a site are probably way behind. But let's go back to when we met, because it's interesting. When we first met, you were just getting into real estate, right? We met at that Club Wealth conference.
Yes.
How many years ago was that? 6 years ago?
No, it was, I think we met at Club Wealth maybe 8 years ago.
Damn,
and that's where, so funny thing is, it was my first conference and it was Sunit's first conference as well.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
We sat next to each other.
Holy,
and we were like, we're new in real estate.
That's crazy. That was Sunit. So Mark's talking about Sunit Agrawal, who's out in Sacramento with Big Block and just like demolishing it as well. That's crazy. Yeah, I remember that. You guys were both new then. I had just started as a coach there. Well, so what was it that got you into real estate? And then how did you go from that spot where you didn't know anything to where you are now, which we'll get to, which is really high up?
to be honest, I felt like when I was younger, I always felt like I knew I would be successful at something. I just didn't know how or what. And I got bored easily with a lot of careers. So I worked for Microsoft. I worked for Groupon when it was a startup. Worked for Louis Vuitton. So these big companies. But I was just so dang bored after like 6 months there because it was the same corporate job and it took forever. So I was like, shit, what would I be good at where I'm constantly learning? And I didn't think I realized how how many opportunities in real estate. But I just love the aspect. And so I basically got my license about 9 years ago and moved to Southern California. San Diego in particular, and just figured I'm like, if I'm going to move anywhere, I'm going to move to the sunshine, hang out in Cali, which I absolutely love, and I'm never leaving. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of how my path was, and slowly but surely, right away, I hired a coaching company. Been trained by a coach since my first week in real estate. Surrounded myself with good people, including, you got to surround yourself with smarter people than who you are, so then you can just constantly learn, and that's what I did. And sure enough, I've got, I think, around almost 100 agents. Maybe 7 or 8 companies with ancillaries, and it's been slowly moving along.
Right now in today's market, what do you think the hardest things for real estate agents? I mean, your area is different. San Diego area is definitely tough, low inventory, high price point. But what do you think across the country when you're coaching agents? What do you think the biggest struggle for them is right now?
I would say consistency. So I think that's going to be their struggle all the time. There's still business out there. I have a guy who's in Palm Springs. He's a newer agent, maybe a couple years in the business. And I think he has 10 pending right now.
Solid.
And he's in a market, Palm Springs. Average buyer's probably 60-something.
Yeah.
He's like 22. So, and a lot of older people may think like, oh, you're too young, oh, kid, you're not experienced. So he's at an uphill battle. He doesn't let any of that dictate what he's putting in for results.
Yeah.
And I mean, he came to me the other day. He's like, I have the most pending I've ever had. I was like, dude, just keep that exact momentum going. Protect your mornings, prospect like crazy. So it's the consistency. If you prospect in the mornings, then your afternoons, you work on your transactions, you're good to go.
Yeah, momentum, definitely important. Like he has it, you can't lose it. Most realtors, you've seen it on your team, I've seen it on my team, we've seen it in the business. They get 2, 3, 4, the first time they get 4 or 5 pending, and then they only work on those, and then they're like, they close, and then they're like, wait, I have nothing in the pipeline. Yeah, you haven't called in a month because you thought you were hot. Like the pipeline never stops. How do you continually coach your team to keep that momentum going?
I don't. You either want it or you don't.
Yeah.
I tell them, I say, hey, protect your mornings, prospect in the morning, get those calls done. If you really want to lead a team that's going to have that metric, I would say having a daily KPI goal that they need to hit and have them fill their KPI goals in at your weekly meetings. I can't remember what the name of the meeting, what it stands for, but it's essentially, it's like everyone has one number and you have to report that one number. So say your weekly calls, if that's like you want your agents to do 500 calls a week,
Yeah.
maybe your weekly number is 500 for that agent, and they come in the report how many they have at your weekly meeting.
Yeah.
And it's either green, meaning it's above that or at that, yellow, which is like maybe it's right at that, and then below is red. And if they don't bring the number, then it's red. And if they don't bring the number or they hit below 3 weeks in a row, they have to do a performance improvement plan, which is a 90-day plan to get them back on track. Ideally, no vacation, in the office every mornings doing your calls. And if not, see you later.
Yeah, I can just hear the kind of generic realtor going like, well, that's too much. I just wanted to get into real estate because it's like a side job. You're never going to make any money like that. We're trying to help people reach their goals. And I don't think people understand that in some ways it's easier than they think because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. But the work is hard. It's not a side hustle type job because the clients don't want someone who's on a side hustle. If you're making a hiring decision now, do you have a preference to a brand new agent that you can mold or a seasoned agent coming from another brokerage? Maybe they have a good sales record, but you may have to undo stuff to get on your team. Which one do you prefer?
I personally prefer new agents only because I want to be able to mold them, because I think if whatever they were doing before is bad habits, it's hard to retrain. But I do like someone that's maybe been at another brokerage for maybe 6 months and they didn't do crap, because then when they're on our team, they're so appreciative. But I mean, some of my like top rock stars have only been at my team. So in my top 10, I would have to look, but I think it's something like 7 of them have only worked for me.
Yeah.
So pretty crazy. And some of them are on like year 5, year 6.
Yeah.
Only working for Mark.
I mean, for people who are trying to build teams, the thing that they always think is, well, if I get good agents and they start doing well, they're going to leave. Why don't your agents leave? I think that's what people want to know.
Because I don't let them. No.
Yeah. But
I will find
besides the panic room, how do you keep them? I know it's going to be in ancillary benefits and upgrades and making sure that they're valued as part of the team, upgrades on the team. But tell us some of those things that keep people. I mean, 5 years on a team, that's what new team builders think like, well, that's not possible. When they're doing enough transaction, they'll leave. But like, it costs a lot to leave. It costs a lot to build your own team. They know how much, they can just see how much money we're spending. So it should be obvious. But what do you do to keep them around?
I think giving them a path. I think some team leaders are like, 50-50 on everything forever. And I'm like, okay, well, you're going to have a turnover and they're going to leave because there's a point when you're not going to actually provide any value. Like, for example, I always say this jokingly, but I don't think anyone knows real estate as well as I do on my team. I know real estate. I study everything, by the way. Like I know the contracts like the back of my hand. But my agents, at what point, like say they've been on your team for 5 or 6 years, are they asking you questions about the contract? And it's like very rarely do they ask. And it's not even me. It's a group thread, and then everyone answers the questions. So it's kind of cool is that if you keep these people, they're not going to take a lot of your time. So it's, they got to graduate in their splits, and they've got to have a path that's clear. And I have it laid out right in the beginning. So when they start out on my team, 50-50, it actually is 50-40-10 because there's a mentor program. Yeah. And the mentor is paid 10%. So we get to kind of see that for the first 3 deals. Then it's 50-50 till 12 deals. And then after 12, it's 70-30 on their own business, 50-50 on team deals. And then they can graduate after 70-30. If they've done 20 million in production in 2 years, they can then graduate into a 90-10 model where they're then working just on that. And they're not doing any of my leads, and they're running everything through just like kind of like their own business, and they're just on my team.
Let's talk about your coaching programs. That's the Riches Through Real Estate. How did you get started with that, and how do people get into it? What do they gain from it? What are you teaching them so they can go out and, change the way they do business?
Yeah, so I've just put what I've learned in place. So I have, I think, 5 different courses on there, maybe more, maybe less. We're constantly changing them out. I'm actually going to go in there these next 2 days and edit a bunch of the videos. So what we're doing is we're just trying to make it more relevant to today's real estate industry, because I find that a lot of the training, if you're going to your brokerage, no offense, but most brokers don't know real estate today. If they were successful
I could not
in the
agree
80s,
more. Yeah.
yeah, if they're successful in the 80s or successful even in the last 2 years, that's a different success than today.
Yep.
So much of the business right now comes from online. How to start a team, how to structure a team, all that stuff is what we put in there, which has been great for us.
Yeah, I mean, most brokers don't understand the team model just because they became a broker before the team model was really even there. And it's different businesses, like we said before. It's just something different. So I do. Well, you're somebody. This is an interesting topic to go down, because you said right away that when you got into real estate, like you got into coaching, because I met you at a coaching conference. Like you knew that if you paid for coaching, it would help you scale because you were motivated. Do you think it's smart for someone who's new, whether or not we know they're motivated, to pay for coaching in the beginning?
If you're joining a team, I think the team will. Another thing is you don't have the expense, so you get to go and just join the team. They'll hold you accountable. But if anything, if you're solo or if you're starting a team, I think you should for sure have coaching.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of I remember, when I started, I would just I'd watch some Tom Ferry videos, and I'd get great tips, but it's only so much. Everything's not there. You need the accountability, and the accountability is not let me just watch another YouTube video. There's a lot of information in there, but I find coaching, training, and the camaraderie you get in coaching companies really helps you scale, figure out what, like you said, masterminds, what other people are doing, like we had in our mastermind, just talking over things and wow, that's a great idea. I'm going to take that and do it. And when you're friends with everyone, they're like, yeah, I'm going to help you, replicate that, because we're not even in the same market. And even if we are, it doesn't really matter. There's plenty of real estate to go around.
Yeah. No, I think it's like you said, the connections that you make through coaching, having the accountability, I think it's definitely worth it. And I think each coaching company kind of serves its purpose. I think I have right now 5 coaches. And mind you, it's not all for me. It's for my company. I have a flipping team coach. It's funny, as I'm saying things, I'm taking notes as well for things I have a little to-do section that I'm writing notes. Yeah. Oh shit, I gotta go check on that. So flipping, coaching, I'm gonna check in on that one. So I mean, I have people in place coaching my different leadership and my different ancillaries, which makes it great.